Thanks, Kim, for being willing to talk to us about your experience of getting RfPB funding. Could you just tell us a tiny bit about your research background to start with?
So I'm a clinical psychologist by background, and I also did a PhD in psychological therapy for bipolar disorder. I then worked in a CMHT for a bit and then got a post at the University of Exeter as a lecturer. And my research has been into psychological therapies for mood disorders, particularly bipolar disorder.
Okay, and can you tell us a bit about the current research funding you've got?
So I've got a award from NIHR Research for Patient Benefit Scheme. I'm the lead investigator. It's for a feasibility trial of an adapted form of dialectical behaviour therapy for people with frequent bipolar mood swings. I'm also site lead on another research for patient benefit study looking at an imagery-based intervention for anxiety and bipolar.
Great. So for people who don't know the NIHR schemes inside out, can you briefly summarise what the RfPB is?
So Research for Patient Benefit is a scheme that offers up to about 350,000 for trials up to about feasibility level. So in other words, not a full definitive trial testing if something works, but a smaller scoping trial to see if a bigger trial is feasible. But RfPB, Research for Patient Benefit, also funds research that will have direct clinical applicability in a fairly short time frame. So they're looking for things that clinicians and researchers can really see how doing this one piece of research will lead to direct benefit for patients pretty quickly.
Great. And having been through the application process recently, have you got any top tips for people who want to try and get an RfPB?
So I think what really helped me personally was being involved in some other studies beforehand in a more minor way. So as a co-investigator or collaborator, that helped to build my CV and my credibility, I think, as a lead investigator. And it also gave me more knowledge and experience about how studies run and the sort of things you need to make sure you include in there. And it also built up my network a bit as well. So that would probably be my top piece of advice. I think it's really important to build in patient involvement right from the beginning and think really carefully about that. And there are loads of organisations that can help you to do that. That was a really important part of how my application was judged.
Great. So how did you go about creating the opportunities to be a co-investigator or a site lead on other trials if people want to start in that way before they become a principal investigator?
So I think a lot of it is just having a particular area that you're interested in and that other people get to know you're interested in. So that might be through what you publish, but it can also be through getting involved with local or regional or national groups, advisory groups around the condition or around the issue, meeting people at conferences and having conversations so that people are aware that you're interested and that you're potentially in a position to help out with a research project.
Great. And any tips for when you get the research funding to actually deliver on it and make it work?
So I'm not finished mine yet, so I'm not sure I'm the best person to say. But I think what's been helpful for me has been trying to be a step ahead. So anticipating the stages that are coming up and planning for those, because everything takes months longer than you think it's going to. So you have to start several months early on pretty much everything. And some of that I've learned the hard way as well. So that would be my main tip.
So stepping away from the RfPB, if someone's a kind of primarily a jobbing clinician and wants to start to get research active, what kind of advice would you give them?
Look for opportunities in your service. There will be. So existing data sets are a really good way to start. There are lots of questions that you can ask of routinely collected data that people haven't asked before. So start by thinking about the questions and the uncertainties you've got in clinical practice, and then think, have you got any data sets that could answer those questions? You may have to tailor your question a bit, or you may have to approach other people that you know who might have data sets that answer your question. I think that's a really good place to start. The other thing you can do is to proactively collect information as well. That might move it from being an audit to a research project, but it's possible to run those within clinical services, and you can contact your research and development office for support around that as well.
Okay, so it sounds like quite a hard work getting research up and running. Why should any clinicians bother with it?
I think it's really rewarding because when I worked in the community mental health team, I really enjoyed it, but I felt like there were so many unanswered questions And I really wanted to be a part of answering those and to feel a sense of taking things forward at a broader level. So it's really rewarding from that point of view. It also is really good for building up different skills. It's because to run a research project, you need to do so many different things. So although it can be a painful, steep learning curve, you actually come out of it feeling like you've built up lots of skills. And I think the best thing about doing research is that when you do research that is on something that's needed, you have lots of patients who are just so pleased that this is being done and so keen to help and be involved. And you get, even though the impact of your research might be years ahead, these people are seeing a benefit of somebody looking into it at all in the first place, and that's really good to be part of.
Great. Anything else you think I should ask you about what's important to get research going?
No.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording now.